It might be wondered why I do videos when hardly anyone watches them. Probably seems a bit weird, but we live in weird times, and when something is not being said that needs to be said, in lieu of a far better person saying it than myself, I will say it. And if what I say is true, the truth is never void. This video is on the gathering darkness of the far right. This is Paul Rimmer, who was recently a guest of Simon Harris and the anonymous internet Nazi warrior Horus, basically discussing the theme of Unite the Right. And I'm going to play you some edited highlights of that. But first, a little bit about Paul Rimmer. I don't know if he's an actual member of Britain First. He often speaks at Britain First rallies and meetings. He's a very likeable Scouser, Cambridge educated, highly articulate guy. But this finger-jabbing antagonism towards a dippy young lefty probably tells us a lot more about who the real Paul Rimmer is than his transports of lyrical patriotism.
I'm not a Trotsky. What are you then? I'm a socialist.
Well, who's you follow? Trotsky, Marx, Karl Marx?
No.
Wait,
I like John McDonnell and Jeremy Corbyn.
Jeremy McDonnell? He's chairman Mao. He's a communist.
He's not a communist.
He is a communist.
He's not a communist.
Well, what was he? What he threw Chairman Mao? He was in the Workers' Revolutionary Party.
He's not a communist. He's a good man.
You're a liar, or you're a fool. He's a communist.
When Labour get in power, you will all.
Labour won't get in power.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
You should have more sense.
He's a student. He knows nothing.
I'm not a student. I work full time.
Yeah, but you know that.
I'm protesting against Nazis.
Let's start with some bits from his recent live stream with Mr. Simon Harris. More on him later as well. With Paul Rimmer explaining a wee bit about his political background.
Went back to nationalism, really to the National Front in a sense. I went back to the British National Party. And the BNP was, the fact that it collapsed so quickly was a tragedy because Griffin played the wrong game. But it was the first time since 1976 when the National Front swept this nation that I saw a nationalist movement sweep this nation. Because when Griffin won his seat in 2009 in the European elections, I can remember people coming to Liverpool town centre to party, ordinary working class people. At last we had a voice, but tragically it collapsed very quickly.
But Anne-Marie Waters, for example, recently made a video basically telling lies, saying that we're racist and using words like Nazi, and that we want to round all black and brown people up and throw them out of the country. And I find this kind of behaviour, speaking honestly, reprehensible, because it's not getting us anywhere, really.
Well, I've always regarded Anne-Marie as an incredibly courageous woman, and I was very disappointed the way she attacked patriotic alternative, the language she used, homophobic, misogynistic, fascist, racist. I'm very disappointed in that.
We need to be building bridges between these different groups, because we can't be running around calling each other fascists and Nazis.
I'll pause here to look at why people might call the ever urbane and mellifluous Simon Harris a fascist and a Nazi. Hurrah for the black shirts from Simon Harris. Hurrah for the founder of Spanish fascism, José Antonio Primo de Rivera. publisher of the anti-Semitic forgery Protocols of Zion. Publisher of any non-copyrighted author who has something bad to say about the Jews. Mr. Simon Andres Breivik is innocent. Harris. Mr. Harris lauding Iran's Trumpinated terrorist mastermind Soleimani. Mr. Harris, an ally of the Iranian regime. Mr. Harris, Holocaust denier. And here's another non-copyrighted author that Simon Harris likes to publish. Sieg Heil, mein Führer, from Simon Harris. And they call him fascist and Nazi. Is there no end to the calumny this fine patriot must face?
The patriotic alternative, there's a lot of very genuine, very worthwhile people in it who can offer hope to this country.
The Thin Red Line asks, Paul Rimmer, will you join Patriotic Alternative?
I believe we need nationalist unity in Britain. I mean, there's a heck of a lot of talent out there. I mean, Horace has just talked about legal minds, but it needs a leader. Someone's got to emerge to lead the nationalist movement. Mark Collett's a very charismatic guy. He's very intelligent. He's very capable. If he could just drop his baggage or turn against it, he could be a very effective leader. And we've got to hope that somebody does emerge as a leader. The patriotic alternative, I mean, Ralph is a fantastic guy. He's very inspirational and he's got great insight. And I'm learning a lot from Ralph and studying his ideas. And the patriotic alternative is going places. It's dynamic, but it needs to fit in with the nationalist wave internationally. And the patriotic alternative is part of the nationalist sort of resurgence in this country. Why not join it?
To me, my impression is that Trump is maybe completely compromised by Israel. I'm not sure, maybe via Epstein. I'm not sure. Like the Zionist control of the US to me just seems almost total, and I reckon Trump might be just one of their instruments. Maybe almost every presidential candidate is. I'm not sure.
I think Trump's boxing very clever with the Jewish lobby in America because he split them. 80% of the Jews vote Democrat and the left-leaning, the ultra-globalists. But there is 20% of them there who are conservative-leaning. And he's managed to bring them on board. Because if Trump had gone totally against the Jewish lobby, he would have been totally destroyed. I mean, when Obama was re-elected in 2012, the Jews in America were saying, we've taken over America. We're the ruling elite now. They were actually saying that explicitly. So when Trump won, and threw Clinton off in 2016, they were very annoyed about that, and they had the power to bring Trump down. He had to win a slice of their support, and he managed to do that. And the way he's done it is linking up with Likud and the ultra-Zionists in Israel, but and putting them against the liberals in America. Don't forget the people who are really opposing Trump: Soros, Schumer, Schiff, Stoyer. They're all American. They're all New York Jews. They're all incredibly wealthy people off Wall Street, and they've got a heck of a lot of clout. So to counteract that, he's had to bring other Jews on board who've helped defend him.
Which side is Jerusalem on?
Jerusalem's always on all sides. You should know that. They take both sides.
Very
They have
true.
investments in both camps.
Yeah, I mean,
Top right-hand corner, only 10 months ago, Paul Rimmer condemning Labour's what he called anti-Zionist racism. I'll give you a clip of it.
This is Jeremy Corbyn. Who is this guy? He's obviously an enemy of this country, a traitor to the West, and he believes in an ideology which is ferociously anti-Semitic, hostile to the Jewish people. I mean, they masquerade under this cloak of Zionism, but really they're attacking the Jews. And we can't accept this. This is almost as if Nazism has been reborn in Britain in the 21st century, and it lives in the Labour Party. It needs to be exposed. It needs to be really shot to pieces. And these people have stepped over the line. They're not acceptable in British politics.
There's so much great talent in the nationalist movement. If we pool our resources and get properly organised, get a decent leader, it's all big ifs, like, but if that happens, we could really impact this country again, like we did during the BNP years. I mean, we haven't mentioned Nick Griffin tonight. He's an interesting character in the background.
Yes, he is an interesting character. Let's listen to what Paul Rimmer had to say about him 10 years ago. Full video, top right.
I often pondered, why wouldn't Griffin offer an olive branch to mixed race people who were patriotic and anti-immigration? To be blunt, I believe that Griffin is a Nazi who was willing to lie and manipulate in order to get power, as the Nazis once did. For many years in the BNP, I kept the rose-tinted glasses on and gave Griffin the benefit of the doubt. But eventually, I had to acknowledge the underlying reality. Griffin is serving a different God. He, Arthur Kemp, Phil Edwards, and many of the old guard, BNP Mark I, are all Holocaust deniers. Griffin, of course, always attempts to deflect this issue by claiming he can't say anything because of the German and French authorities might prosecute him. I regard this defence as pathetic.
And here he is, 10 years later, chin wagging with a pair of Hitlerian anti-Semites on how to unite the right. Simon Harris made clear just where he's coming from. Check out Horace's material for yourself. A screaming, genocidal hatred of the Jews.
I know you're pretty close to Britain First. I'll put this up on the screen now just to emphasise the point that you'll be speaking along with Paul Golding and Tommy Robinson, who we might touch on the issue of Tommy Robinson, who we tend to be more critical of. But the good thing about Paul Golding is he doesn't counter signal, and yeah, both Horace and I are close to the patriotic alternative, group, part of the general group. So Horace and I, we're not directly involved, but we're kind of loosely associated with patriotic alternative.
Paul Golding is an immensely capable political activist. He could make things happen. He could be an effective leader. Again, he's got problems because he's got a criminal record. Now, Tommy Robinson is a folk hero in this country. I mean, he's an incredibly brave guy. He's been in prison, he's been attacked, and he's stayed the course. He's fought back. Now, he's politically, he tried to get elected for the Northwest. He failed there. He needs to connect with a political party. because he needs to have a real political ideology and not just a counter-jihad approach. So maybe he's a work in progress, or maybe he's not, but only time will tell.
The far right, in all its shades, from Tommy Robinson's fascism minus the anti-Semitism, through to Paul Golding's plain fascism, and Mark Collett's neo-Nazi fringe, is coalescing. When Tommy Robinson happily shares a Britain First poster with someone doing a white power sign next to him, one can clearly see that the gap between Tommy Robinson and Mark Collett is closing and closing. It's only a matter of time till that gap has completely closed. Gerard Batten is not the only Tommy Robinson supporter already happily retweeting neo-Nazi Mark Collett. Tommy Robinson's colleague in Hearts of Oak, Alan Craig, is as well. Personally, from what I've seen, the vast majority of Tommy Robinson supporters follow him like a cult. If he teamed up with Mark Collett tomorrow, the vast majority would accept it without missing a beat. The far right is very small, but it's growing. The reason it is growing is because the democratic centre virtually does not exist anymore. It's held hostage on the far left, with nasty names held to its head, a prisoner of its own cowardice. One man who could free the centre from its cowardice is Tommy Robinson, a man who knows all there is to teach about courage. But Tommy Robinson is not disposed to revive the democratic centre. He is disposed to enable the far right. The far right dare say what the centre dare not say, but it dare not say what it truly thinks, at least not yet. More on the centre far right in another video. The truth is never void. God bless you. Take care.
Tommy Robinson, maybe he's a work in progress, or maybe he's not, but only time will tell.
Each of us has a destiny, for good or for evil.
Winston Churchill to the defeated French people. Good night, then. Sleep to gather strength for the morning, for the morning will come. Brightly will it shine on the brave and true, kindly on all who suffer for the cause.
Can you feel the light in England? Can you feel the light?